people are turning on their central heating systems for the first time after the summer break. Now, every plumber knows that about this time the phone starts ringing like mad as people phone up to say, I've turned my heating off, but there's nothing coming through the radiators. So here's some very simple things that you can check when your heating system has been off for the summer. If it's a combination boiler, it'll probably just carry on running on the pump and that's fine. But sometimes you find that the little diverter valve inside sticks because it hasn't been moved around for a while. So in the case of a combination boiler, that diverter valve is inside, so I don't recommend you touch it. But what you can do is to exercise your boiler, if you like, every week or so during the summer. Just flick the central heating on for a few seconds. It doesn't need to be on for more than 30 seconds, but if you do that, you will make sure that that valve goes through the cycle, turns itself over to central heating and then back again. So that helps to avoid that situation. You can also do that with an ordinary system. Just flick it on and run the central heating for 30 seconds whenever you think of it, and you probably won't do it too often anyway. But if you haven't done that and you find that your central heating system isn't working in the summer, first thing is, if it's a pressurized system, check that the gauge is working and that it's up to pressure, and if it's not, you can repressure it on the filling loop, but make sure that it's at least 1 bar. Now, if that's not the problem, the next thing we want to do is look at the pump. Now, you can very often hear the pump whirring away, but that doesn't mean that the impeller inside is turning. The fact the motor's turning doesn't mean that it's connecting with that impeller inside. They're just a cast iron component in many cases. A lot of them now are plastic. So the cast iron ones tended to seize solid during the summer. So first thing I can do is, without doing anything more, is switch your central heating system on. Make sure that that thermostat is turned up in the hall or wherever else you've got it, and just give the pump a few sharp taps like that. And if you do that, sometimes that is enough to shock it into action. It'll go. Don't overdo it hitting it, but certainly something like a light tap with a hammer or the hand of a screwdriver sometimes will get that going. Now, if that doesn't get it going, then what I would do is just turn off the central heating again, and on the end here we've got a little screw which we can undo. Now, you can see I'm undoing that now very easily with the screwdriver. It's only a short screw, but beware, at this stage there will be hot water coming out of here, so good idea to get a towel or something like that. An absolute minimum of water comes out of there, and you can turn the pump through its revolution a few times. And now we're happy that that's operating. Tighten it up, but not over tight, because it's got a little rubber seal on it, and that will allow the pump to operate. Next thing is, if it's not the pump that's causing the problem, we then need to look at the motorized valves. Now, in this situation, you've got a motorized valve going to the heating system, and you've also got one going to the hot water system. And if your hot water's been running perfectly okay during the summer, then it suggests that this motorized valve is working perfectly well. So the one we're interested in is not the one that goes down to the cylinder, the hot water cylinder here, but it's the one above it, which is sometimes labelled central heating. And this one, you can very simply, when you've got the thermostat open upstairs and the central heating is on, it's calling for heat, then what should happen is this valve should open, and this little manual lever that's on the edge here should be absolutely free. And if you feel resistance on it, and when you open it you can hear it springing back closed, that suggests that the motorized valve itself is stuck. And we have a very useful video on Skill Builder showing you how to replace the motor on your motorized valve. So if that is the problem, all is not lost. But if you just run that lever up and down a couple of times, you can hear it open up, you can hear the water rush through, and that may be enough to get it moving again, just running it through manually. If you find that that's not working, you can actually open that motorised valve, and there's a little lug just there where you can park the lever behind it, and that means that motorised valve is then open. And if that's manually opened, you can then go back and fill the radiators, switch your hot water on as well, because that will get the pump going, and then fill the radiators and feel whether you're getting some circulation through the radiators. So if you do those things, first of all check the pressure, then check the pump, and then check the motorised valves. Of course, making sure that the programmer is switched on when you're doing those checks, so that you can see that you're actually getting a live signal through. And if you do those things and none of them work, then I would suggest that you make that call to the plumber or the heating engineer. I'm Roger Bisby. I hope you found that useful, and maybe it saved you a bit of money, kept you warm. Come back soon to Skill Builder. We got lots more coming up for you. We'll try and do a few seasonal tips throughout the winter, ways you can keep warm, and all kinds of other interesting things.